and very much when I wrote the story was, as you remember, it was a giant story. And so what I did was we broke it into 3 different parts. And, with Elon of course is a human character.
Yeah, I wanted to talk more about Ilon and how you came up with him as a character and such a. I mean, he's the dominant character
Yes.
of the book and now of the series, and sort of where. It's interesting. He's kind of a sad character in a way, a tragic character. He carries that with him, and sort of how you came up with that character.
Well, I've been, and I still am. I'm fascinated with ancient peoples. I mean, I love looking into the past and seeing how did we get here? How did we go from like apes to to this? And I was fascinated that 80,000 years ago there were actually not 2 different types of human beings, but I think there were 5 different types of human beings. And we're the only surviving branch of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Homo sapiens. Okay. Well, you had Neanderthals were a different branch. So I was and have been fascinated with this sort of that there were actually different species of human beings wandering around. And it's sort of, Neanderthals kind of disappeared off the face of the earth about 25,000 years ago. And Homo sapiens kind of, took over, okay? And they actually came in and they took over, the areas that the Neanderthals had actually, Cro-magnons came in and pretty much wiped out the Neanderthals.
I mean, that's what right in areas in Europe is what I read about, that
yes.
You did have different groups of human species all living in
close proximity, yes.
to each other, and then in the end only one was left.
Right. And so I kind of took the story about Elon, and Elon was a Neanderthal. And basically what I did is I took that balance, the same balance where we have with the egress. I took it and said, okay, Neanderthal society, Neanderthal culture is balanced. Therefore, there's no distinction between males and females. Okay? They're completely equal.
The same thing in their kind of groups.
Thing.
There might be a female leader. There might
whoever
earned
has
it.
the respect. Whoever earns the respect, they're the leader. So that to them, they don't make any distinction between males and females.
Yeah.
They're equal. Therefore, they respect nature. They don't go in and overkill. They don't have wars. There's this balance. There's this notion of nature and a people working and functioning inside of that that area. And so what happened was, in developing that story, was to show that the Arana were out of balance, and we are out of balance. Because what happens is, of course, is Cro-magnons come in. Well, actually, Cro-magnons were created from Neanderthals by a machine, by an intelligent machine that came to our planet, finds the most intelligent life form, which was which was Neanderthals, takes them, modifies them, creates a modified
sort of a genetic leap that makes it, that interrupts the environmental, the evolutionary cycle.
So what happens is the Neanderthals start having these babies, and they're different. They're smarter, but they're different in a sense where now, as the males get older, there's something wrong. Their males are more aggressive. They're more, they don't have respect for women. They start doing and destroying and start killing, and so they split apart from the Neanderthals. They go off on their own, and then they come back later in a much larger group, and they take them out. They kill all of the Neanderthals over time. So what happens is, Elon is the what he believes to be the last of his kind.
The last surviving Neanderthal.
And so, of course, in that book, in that part, he's in a cave. He's dying. There's no one left.
It's all by himself. Yeah.
And then something comes along. He sees this light. He's in pain, and he gets whisked away. That's the end of that part of the story. But then, in the part that's being presented in The Battle for Tomorrow is that you see Elon being born. And the interesting part was I had him not born as a baby, but I had him born as a fully formed man, a grown man. And, because these egrets are like, they're
10 feet tall.
They're 10 feet tall, I mean, so, and I thought that would be interesting, to just, that he would be born as a fully formed, adult male, with these memories of the past, but an understanding of the Igor's language, and just kind of, he's not sure initially what's going on. They don't know what to make of him, they've never seen a human being before. And so the purpose of Elon is to unite the egrets, the different trods, because a trod is like a group of egrets, hunters, who kind of, they just kind of stick together. And
what's interesting in the book is that you have all these names that you've created or made up for different social functions, different levels of soldiers, you have all these unique names.
Yes.
That you just come up with them yourself,
yeah.
And yet when you read in the book, it's like, oh yes, trod is a word, or I know what a trod is,
right?
And
right.
Yet you forget that Fred just created this concept, or this idea.
Yes.
I mean, it blends really well. So the way that you seem very socially aware, because there's a sort of, the names of the egrets are all sort of within one language family, that it seems like they all go together.
Yes.
And then the names of the Arana are in a completely different language family.
Yes.
And so you're obviously very sensitive to that when you create these cultures, that they seem to be very fully formed in the way that you would expect. I don't know. I think that's quite an achievement when you're writing about these different cultures.
Yeah, I think I just wanted something, to be interesting in terms of, the language, the wording, like I know, like a lot of I noticed what I did with the egress is I wanted, like, I'm thinking of creatures with lots of teeth and claws, and so, I remember when I came up with the word Gangahar, who was one of the egress hunters. It's sort of this strong word, like the G's and the K's.
The K's is very guttural, right?
Yeah.
It is like an animal, Gangahar,
Yeah. So the Arana were a little bit, the names were more like a complex name, but kind of softer, and it wasn't like the harsh sounding,
right?
Like the egrets are, they just kind of give you that idea that they're, real tough and, and just kind of feral. So you have these kind of names to match the characters, and whereas.
And then Elon, and then back when in the what might be book 2 or something like that, when they're back among the Neanderthals, they also have their own language group that goes with the Neanderthals. So I mean, I think one of the most important moments in the book actually is, as a reader, we've been reading about Elon, and we know he has this past history where he has these flashback memories and so forth of this other group that killed him, and you realize that, so he has faced extinction in the same way that the egrets are facing extinction, but in the beginning we don't really know quite who it was that was making Elon's group extinct or like that. And then so there's a moment in the book when you realize, oh, wait a minute, that Elon's a Neanderthal, and we were the ones that drove them extinct.
Right.
And you've identified so much with the other side of this that then it's like you're looking at ourselves in a completely different way as the kind of people who could completely extinct an entire species.
Right, and I think this was the point about the Arana, was that they were that modified animal. The same machine had gone to their planet, found, them, took them, modified them, then things are out of balance, they, mature, they develop, and, and then they start destroying everything.
That's kind of the concept of the whole series then, right? In a way, is that there's it's the out of balance part, like you're talking about, and then I mean, my sense was Ilon is kind of the avenger, or I mean, there's a kind of a righteous justice in Ilon, that he shows up to restore the balance. You know,
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
Egress sort of don't have a chance, except Ilon is sort of genetically introduced into the Egress culture so that he can help restore the balance. I mean, that.
Yeah, I think that would probably be one way of putting it. I'm thinking in terms of, you know, like what is that island, the down in South America, Darwin discovered, Galapagos.
The Galapagos, right.
Galapagos. What happened was, if you go to the Galapagos, well, now it's different, but originally what happened was is the animals, all the different animals that were there, they weren't used to intruders. I mean, they weren't, you know, there was nothing there that would just walk up and kill them. So
they were completely docile. Yes.
Completely docile. It's just like he could literally walk right up to them. I can remember, you know, when I was reading about Darwin, when he was talking about the Galapagos, is you could just, you walk in amongst these animals, just bend over and kill them, you know, and it's like it was foreign to them. They had no notion of danger. They do now, once, you know, they introduce some of the animals there that they shouldn't have. So, you know, but that was sort of evolving and becoming aware of the danger, and that was what I kind of used in terms of the story, was that the egress,
at first,
ferocious as they were,
at first they didn't think, right.
They didn't have this notion of danger from another animal. They just didn't occur to them, and you know, but Ilon, again, he had grown to be used to the idea that his people were being attacked all the time by the Cro-magnons, and had this notion that this people was going to destroy them. And so that's why he was brought there, was to introduce them to the notion of that, hey, these people are gonna wipe you out, and unless you organize together as a, you know, not just one tribe but a whole bunch, and you go and fight these people, you're gonna die. I mean, so it was sort of,
hence the battle for tomorrow, as in extinction means if you don't fight, you have no tomorrow at all. And then the environmental message of, well, this is what it means when you extinct an entire species. There is no tomorrow for them.
Right.
But what if you could intervene and somehow that species could fight back? And that's what the book's about.
Right. Right.